Greetings, explorers of the shadows and seekers of hidden truths. You have arrived at the portal of the unknown, a place where words are not mere sounds, but codes that conceal deep enigmas and secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Each phrase we speak here is a key that can open doors to realms beyond what the eyes can see. Each revelation we share has the potential to profoundly alter your perception of reality, challenging everything you once believed to be true. Here, at the portal, we do not seek easy answers or absolute certainties. What we seek is to awaken in you the curiosity and courage to look beyond the surface, to question and perhaps even deconstruct everything you thought you knew. Today, we face an even more challenging mission ahead of us. We will unravel one of the oldest and most dangerous bonds that have trapped humanity. A connection that hides in the shadows of religions, manipulating the minds and hearts of people, turning them into puppets of an invisible and often malicious system. We're talking about religious manipulation, a powerful force that throughout the centuries has been used by leaders and institutions to control and subjugate millions. But how did we get to this point? How did a tool of faith, which should have been a force of unity and spirituality, become distorted, molded, and transformed into an instrument of control? And most importantly, what happens when the truth, the foundation of the scriptures and sacred teachings, is covered up by human dogmas and interpretations, corrupting what should be pure? Let us explore these questions, and as we do so, we invite you to embark on a journey of discoveries that may shake your deepest convictions. Together, let us question the pillars of organized religion, understand the origins of this game of power, and, more crucially, uncover what lies beyond the dogmas that for so long have kept humanity in the dark. The questions are many, and the answers may be even more unsettling than we imagine. What is hidden behind the doctrines and rituals? Who benefits from the manipulation of faith? And what can we do to find the truth in a world where illusion often disguises itself as faith? This is only the beginning of a journey that will undoubtedly open your eyes to aspects of religion you never thought existed. Join us as we explore the mysteries of religious manipulation and seek together the light amidst the shadows. Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, warned us all about the dangers of spiritual manipulation, leaving a clear and direct message that resonates through the ages. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 9, he said, "In vain do they worship me. Their teachings are but rules taught by men." These words, seemingly simple, are profound and carry a truth that is often ignored or distorted. Here, Jesus reveals one of the greatest dangers humanity would face, the tendency to replace the divine voice, the direct guidance of the Creator, with rules and dogmas created by man. True worship to him is not that which blindly follows traditions or practices imposed by human institutions, but that which is done with an open heart, guided by God's Spirit and truth. This warning from Jesus goes far beyond mere advice. It is a revelation of what happens when human beings stop following the divine teachings and instead follow human interpretations of the scriptures. Traditions, rules, and the desires of those who seek power in the name of faith replace the pure teaching that the Master came to bring. And this is where spiritual manipulation begins. When the voice of the Creator, with its transforming and liberating power, is silenced or distorted. What we then see are religious systems that, instead of liberating, enslave. Instead of leading people to truth, they lead them away from it, to a path where control and domination are the main goals. This replacement of the divine voice with human traditions creates a reality where followers are guided by doctrines that often serve the interests of the powerful more than the true spiritual mission. What was meant to be a guide to salvation and spiritual freedom becomes a set of rules that impose fear, guilt, and conformity. The true relationship with God, which should be personal and direct, is mediated by a layer of interpretations and conventions that distort the original teachings. Throughout history, we have seen many religious institutions take advantage of this dynamic to control the masses, feeding off others' faith and often becoming more powerful than God in their hearts. Therefore, these words of Jesus continue to challenge us. They force us to reflect. Are we following the truth, or are we trapped in a system created by men that seeks to control us? Are we hearing the voice of the Creator, or are we being guided by empty rules that have no power to transform our lives? What he teaches us is that true worship, true spirituality, is that which goes beyond rituals and human rules. It is that which comes from the heart, that seeks the truth above all, that does not succumb to control and manipulation, but that opens itself to the freedom that comes from knowing and living God's will. History is filled with tragic examples of how faith has been manipulated and distorted for the sake of control and domination. These examples, spanning centuries and civilizations, reveal an uncomfortable truth. Faith, at many points in history, has been used as a powerful tool to subjugate, exploit, and deceive. Once again, Jesus warned us about these dangers, pointing to the Pharisees as those who imposed heavy burdens on the people without lifting a finger to ease their suffering. In Matthew 23:4, he describes the hypocrisy of these religious leaders. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. This verse shows us how, throughout history, those in positions of power, under the guise of faith and spirituality, imposed a crushing weight on ordinary people, forcing them to follow rules that were not only difficult to follow, but in many cases had no genuine spiritual value. Beyond the Pharisees, throughout the centuries, other religious leaders and powerful figures have taken advantage of others' faith for personal gain. False prophets, for example, are a constant across all ages. They present themselves as divine messengers, offering blessings and promises of prosperity in exchange for wealth, influence, or submission. These individuals, or even entire institutions, distort spiritual teachings to manipulate people, promising them what they cannot deliver, only to increase their power and resources. By promising material and spiritual benefits, they create a dependency on their words and doctrines, trapping those who seek truth but end up falling into the trap of manipulation. In many cultures and historical moments, religion has been exploited as a means of social and political control, whether through the creation of norms that are claimed to be divine, or by using religion to justify injustice, abuse, and despotism. Now, the crucial question arises: how much are we truly at the mercy of this system? We live in an era where, in many parts of the world, religion continues to play a central role in people's lives. However, even in the most modern societies, we still see remnants of this manipulation, either by religious leaders or through interpretations that serve personal interests. It is not uncommon to observe that many people's faith is shaped not by the true essence of its teachings, but by the expectations and agendas of religious leaders or groups seeking to maintain control over their lives. The promise of material or spiritual blessings in exchange for obedience or financial contributions, for example, is still a common practice in many religions worldwide. People often find themselves trapped in a cycle of unfulfilled promises, seeking answers and miracles that never come, but remaining within a system that keeps them in constant dependence. Furthermore, in our daily lives, how many times do we encounter dogmas and beliefs that were imposed on us, but when we analyze them deeply, we realize they make no sense or were used to control us? How much, then, are we truly living a genuine faith? Or are we merely following a system that over time has become more of a power structure than a genuine search for spiritual truth? The reflection that arises is, are we as a society repeating the mistakes of the past? Or have we finally been able to see beyond the lies and manipulations, seeking the true spiritual freedom that was taught to us by those who truly understood what faith is? The fight against religious manipulation, therefore, is not just a battle against institutions or leaders, but an inner journey in which each of us must question our own beliefs and seek the truth that goes beyond the imposed lies. The true gospel is a message of freedom, not captivity. It invites us to know the deep truth that transforms our lives, freeing us from the chains of fear, guilt, and oppression. Jesus, in John 8:32, declared, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." These words are an invitation to a profound and transformative experience, a promise that the divine truth has the power to break the invisible chains that imprison us. But what does it mean to know this truth, and how does it set us free? The answer lies in the essence of the gospel. When we embrace the true message of Christ, we are no longer slaves to systems of control, human laws, or doctrines that impose fear and conformity. On the contrary, the truth revealed by Jesus frees us to live authentically, with courage, love, and true faith based on a personal relationship with God. However, we often see that the faith preached by certain institutions and religious leaders does not lead people to this freedom, but rather imprisons them in a cycle of fear, guilt, and blind obedience. If the faith we follow places us in a constant state of fear, makes us feel indebted to God or religious leaders, or makes us believe that our salvation depends on our outward actions and the approval of human figures, then we are not living the gospel of Christ. We are, in fact, in a spiritual captivity disguised as holiness. In many cases, what presents itself as legitimate religious faith becomes an oppressive system, enslaving minds and hearts, creating an endless cycle of regret and self-blame. These practices move us away from the true peace that Jesus offers, a peace that does not depend on external rituals or our perfection, but on faith in divine grace and forgiveness. The truth that Jesus offers us is liberating because it is based on God's unconditional love, not human works. It calls us to be free to live God's will, not as fearful servants, but as beloved children who understand that their position before the Creator does not depend on their perfection, but on accepting divine grace. The moment we accept this truth, we begin to break the chains that bind us to fear and guilt. The human laws and traditions that have often been imposed upon us lose their power to control us, and we begin to live under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, who leads us in freedom and love. True faith leads us to an intimate relationship with God, where holiness is not something externally imposed, but something that comes from our hearts, moved by the transformation the gospel offers us. Therefore, if the faith we follow keeps us trapped in a cycle of fear, guilt, or dependence on human figures for our salvation, we must reflect deeply. Perhaps we are lost in a system that imprisons us more than it frees us, one that moves us farther from the truth of the gospel than closer to it. The freedom that Christ offers us is real and profound, and the pursuit of it should be our greatest goal. If our faith does not make us free, if it does not allow us to live with inner peace and confidence in God, then we need to question what truth we are following. The true gospel, as proclaimed by Jesus, frees us, gives us hope, and transforms us to live with dignity and freedom, free from chains that come from human doctrines, but only from God's love and grace. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you been taught not to question? How many times were you encouraged to accept dogmas and beliefs without truly understanding their deeper meaning? How often was the idea of faith imposed upon you with no room for personal reflection or investigation? This practice of blind following is not the kind of faith that God desires for His children. True faith is not based on blind obedience to human-made rules and traditions, but on a conscious understanding of what we profess. God calls us into a genuine relationship with Him, one that is based on knowledge, understanding, and above all, freedom. He does not wish for us to be mere followers of doctrines created by men, but to seek His divine truth with open hearts, ready to question, examine, and grow. In 1 John 4:1, we find a direct and powerful warning. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. This verse is a clear instruction that we must be vigilant and discerning in what we believe. We should not accept any teaching or religious practice without first examining its origin and its alignment with divine truth. The Apostle John warns us about false teachings that may lead us astray. He challenges us to question, to discern, and to always seek the true source of faith, God, not man. Genuine faith, therefore, is not one that follows blindly or is imposed from the top down, but one that is lived consciously, where we question and investigate at every step, always seeking to align our beliefs with the truth revealed by God. Religious manipulation persists in many parts of the world precisely because few people are willing to confront it. It endures because it is easier to follow without questioning, because it is more comfortable to adhere to systems that offer a sense of security and certainty, even if these systems do not lead us to true truth. Those who challenge this manipulation, who dare to look beyond the veil of appearances, often face resistance and even hostility, as the status quo fears the pursuit of truth, which can destabilize the control many seek to maintain. But for those who truly seek the truth, without fear of confronting false doctrines, a different path unfolds, a path of freedom, discernment, and genuine connection with the Creator. This path is not one where God uses his power to oppress, but one where he is the inexhaustible source of love, justice, and grace. In a world where faith is often used as a means of manipulation, it is essential to seek the truth that liberates, the truth that leads us to an authentic relationship with God, not to a system of control. True faith leads us to a place of peace and harmony, where God's divine justice reigns, and where spiritual freedom is not just a promise, but a lived reality in our everyday lives. God is not a tool of oppression, but the source of all the love and justice the world needs. By seeking the truth with courage, we move away from the lies that imprison us and closer to the full freedom that the Creator offers. Now I ask, are we truly ready to break free from this web of lies that has been woven around us for centuries? Are we willing to cast aside the chains of false religiosity and seek the living God who reveals himself to those who earnestly search for him with a pure heart? The call is to go beyond appearances, beyond empty rituals, and to seek the true, transformative experience with the Creator. It's not about blindly following traditions or rules imposed by men, but about opening ourselves to an authentic encounter with God. Are we prepared to leave behind fear and conformity and take the first step toward a faith that doesn't imprison, but liberates? The choice is ours, as God invites us on a journey of true discovery, where truth is revealed to those with hearts open to question, grow, and explore. If this message resonated deeply with you, if something within you stirred as you read these words, subscribe to the portal of the unknown. This is the space where, together, we can continue unraveling the mysteries of faith, revealing truths that have been hidden for centuries and are now ready to be uncovered by those brave enough to look beyond convention. The truth is closer than we think, but it will only be visible to those who dare to seek it, those willing to look beyond the surface and explore what is concealed in the depths of knowledge and spirituality. If you're ready for this journey to see what many prefer to ignore or conceal, then join us. Together, we will venture into the unknown and find the answers we've been searching for. For true spiritual freedom begins when we have the courage to face the truth head on, without fear and without reservation.